What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Monday night, August 28th, 2023. It's about 10:30 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe looks like a 1.1 California and also a 1.4 in Alaska. This comes after some pretty large earthquake activity earlier in the Java Trench. We'll go ahead and check out this a little bit after a look at the latest information here. As of 10 p.m. Central Time, this should update. They've been doing it about every 3 hours or so, so it may not update for another hour. We're still looking at 70 mile per hour sustained wind, so it is currently a tropical storm, and we're referring to Idalia, which is expected to strengthen into a major hurricane come, late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning here. It's supposed to make landfall, but I'm thinking we're going to get to the major category before that. Here's a timestamp from the National Hurricane Center. This is expected to pick up steam and pick up the momentum, so to speak. Probably tomorrow we're going to see a rapid progression here of this storm. It seems like it's a little behind, at least to me anyway, in the time. But I think that may have something to do with being over land and potentially bringing in some drier air on the northern side of this tropical system. But we're continuing to watch that. Current warnings are still up. As you can see right here in the red, that's a hurricane warning for a good portion of the Florida area, and that stretches all the way over here to the west as well. This is a cone of uncertainty in the white. That's going to be, a little uncertain on exactly where it's going to make landfall, so that's kind of why they take this and spread it out in a certain direction to give that cone of uncertainty. A tropical storm warning here in the blue, hurricane warnings up in the Cuba area, and we'll watch this tomorrow as it continues to gain some steam. We're still looking at potential heavy rainfall, looking at anywhere between 6 and 10 inches of rain here in the orange, 4 to 6 inches in the yellow, and of course less following that graph. Peak surge, that's another thing that we're going to have to worry about. We got a full moon coming up, could play a part on the tides, could be overall a bad time to be out here across this area of Florida where we're expecting some surge. This is feet above ground level here, so if you're out here at ground level, you're looking at 12 feet of ocean water being above your head. If you're out there, that's not a good thing. Do not be out there. Don't take those chances. Make sure you head inland, follow local authorities and their evacuation warnings, because this is something serious, folks. 12 feet in the red, up to 9 feet in the orange, yellow indicating up to 6 feet, and up to 3 feet in the blue. So this is definitely a big deal, and it's going to continue to be a big deal as it works its way towards the Florida area. This is the latest public advisory on Tropical Storm Idalia. This is number 10, it looks like. They mentioned here about a couple different changes which were listed on the map. Let's see what we got. Discussion and outlook here. Northward motion is expected through the night tonight, followed by a faster northeast motion on Tuesday and Wednesday. So tomorrow's going to be a very important day, which is Tuesday, right, to watch this and see what it does. It's expected to pick up pretty quickly. Maximum sustained winds there at about 70 miles per hour currently with higher gusts. Rapid strengthening is predicted during the next day or so. So tonight, tomorrow, it's definitely going to be a thing to watch. Let me bring up the GOES satellite disk here. Thought I had that up, but I guess I don't. So we'll bring this up and check out the Gulf of Mexico here. And we're going to look at this animated loop with lightning included over the last 24 hours. Here's Tropical Storm Idalia making that northward motion right now. Now, you can see the spin here. No eye wall, but I'm sure that will take place as we get closer into tomorrow night. Pretty short distance from here to the Florida area. Will it gain enough strength to become a major Category 3 or so hurricane? That's what they are expecting. So that's what we need to watch and pay very close attention to. Let me bring back the National Hurricane Center once again. We're going to check out the nothing going on out in the Pacific. We're going to go out here, check out Dahlia. Here is the flash flooding potential in the red, a good portion out here as well. Numerical models here. I want to show you something that just kind of blew my mind earlier, and it still shows it in the current run here, the model run. Now this is Franklin, right? Isn't that Hurricane Franklin out there spinning off? Well, here is Tropical Storm Idalia. Okay, we're going to put this into motion. This is just one model run here. This is a GFS. Notice the strengthening right here. Let me bring it up just a little bit higher so we can see what's going on as far as the size goes. Still expected to hit right here in this area of Florida. Now, that's going to be its peak. That's going to be its strongest before heading off to the northeast. But look what the model runs are showing. Watch this. Keep your eye over here. Keep your eye on Idalia. Franklin's probably going to go off, but keep your eye on this tropical system. Of course, it's going to weaken as it goes through land, but then it's back over some warmer water, and it gets caught back up in the upper level winds and drifted right back to the west towards Florida again. You guys see that? That is Idalia coming back for a second round. Now, this is a second weather model that has been showing that. We've seen something similar to this. I think it was Hurricane Ivan, 2004. A little bit stronger, a little bit different scenario, but it did hit pretty strong over here. Can't remember the exact location, drifted off and then got caught back and went back towards the Gulf of Mexico. And this weather model, goodness, you guys see that again? Watch, let me put this back in motion. You got to follow these patterns here. There's landfall as a major hurricane, Dahlia. It will be drifting off towards the northeast, and then it gets caught back up in the weather patterns out here to where it comes back over Florida as potentially a tropical storm again, maybe a hurricane. Right there, see that? Hitting the eastern side this time before getting caught back up and then just dissipating. So this is going to be a very interesting scenario. This doesn't happen all that often, but I think it was Hurricane Ivan, if I remember correctly. Similar type event. That would not be good. So we'll continue to watch us each model run and just pay very close attention. Let's see what we got here for the lower dynamics. A GFS is going to show the strength of the wind, so to speak. There it is right now. That will be Hurricane Idalia making landfall. It does shred up, but it stays somewhat together as it enters the Atlantic as a tropical low. Now, this is not showing too much strengthening as it heads back into Florida. So, but still, it looks like maybe some type of development right here from the remnants of what was left of Idalia. So we're going to watch that, see how it goes. It's just crazy to think about. I just don't see that all that often there. All right, let's go ahead. There's Franklin out there. Beautiful eye. Spinning off in the Atlantic. But we want to check out Idalia. There is another infrared model here. Notice there's the center of circulation there. You can kind of just barely see it. If you were to have like an eye wall, they're technically not, but that's going to be it right about here. So we'll continue to watch that. It's got to make its way over the Cuba area. Once it gets into the open waters here of the Gulf of Mexico, it's expected to rapidly pick up in momentum and steam, so to speak. There's a lot of warm water out here, a lot of fuel for this tropical system to just eat up and become a major hurricane there before landfall. Expected early Wednesday morning there in Florida. So we'll watch that tomorrow. Again, it's going to be a very important day. The spaghetti model runs here, still indicating a hit up here, landfall north of Tampa Bay. It's been pretty consistent here. Look at one weather model. Look at this. It's even picking up on that return. Most weather models are showing it being drifted off into the Atlantic, but what is that, AVNI? Some weather model out here is showing that loop back to Florida. If we start seeing these other weather models trend in that same pattern, that's something to watch out for pretty closely. That would be a double hit definitely not what Florida needs at all. Here is the tropical storm Idalia model intensity guide here over the next, here's the hours, forecasted hours. Of course, we're getting close. Here it looks like around 36, 48 hours or so, we should see the maximum peak. One model here is showing a Category 3. Most of the weather models here split between a 1 and a 2. Some of these other ones are just showing a tropical storm, never even strengthening into a hurricane, but I don't see that happening. More consistently, it looks like maybe Category 1, Category 2. We'll definitely watch that as we get, much closer here, folks, to the to early Wednesday, Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. Here's a couple model runs here, still showing a little bit of a looping around. See that loop? A couple different scenarios here. I don't think we're going to see an intercept, so to speak, of Franklin out here and Idalia. Franklin's going to get caught up and head way out to the Atlantic long before the Idalia reaches there. It doesn't look like. Well, let me see what else we got out there. Let me check out the I guess we could use this, right? This is a little bit different picture, a little bit different view. North America here. You got Franklin spinning up here. It's going to head north. There's Idalia there in Florida. There's really no other tropical systems around, but there is a lot of moisture left over out here. So it looks like maybe that may be pulling in some of it there with that tropical low and then swooping back around into Florida. But again, we just don't know if that's going to be a scenario or not. Right now, a couple model runs are showing that. That's something we got to watch pretty closely there, folks. Not even joking. So, we'll continue to keep you guys updated. I'm still running the hurricane live stream there, or the Idalia live stream. Just got some satellite imagery and the latest information there from the National Hurricane Center. If folks want to chime in, and just a place to chat about hurricane activity. Be prepared, folks. This is looking a little on the crazy side. All right, so we're going to look at, what do we got here? Earthquake activity, right? I want to double check this here real quick. Storm surge flooding map, inundation map, so to speak. These areas in the red are not the spot to be. We're talking about greater than 9 feet above the ground. And that covers a good portion out here of different communities. I've never been to Florida, so I can't say I know this area at all. Hopefully one day I get out there. Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg down here also in certain areas of that storm surge and inundation of flooding risk out here across these low-lying areas. It's very important to pay attention and listen to what the local authorities are stating to the residents down there. All right. Pretty active day earthquake-wise. Latest earthquake here shows a 5.4 Panama area that is off the plate boundary inland here into the Caribbean plate, about 10 kilometers deep. We did see some major movement earlier today. Remember I kind of chatted about that in my morning update? That was a crazy morning update because I did like almost a 45-minute update, and it never recorded, so I had to redo it again. Pretty crazy. But anyway, we had a 7-pointer kicking up here. It's been a little while since we have a 7-pointer. We'll take a look at this year's total stats here in just a second. The 7.1 earthquake, 513 kilometers deep. That's way down here into the portion of the Java Trench here. This is a major subduction zone that sits underneath this area. Now, we have seen a couple aftershocks here following that, including a 5.9 way over here across the band of sea. Some deeper movement as well. So a lot is going on across this area as far as plate dynamics go. Deeper movement quakes normally put a lot of strain out here up at the surface level, so I wouldn't doubt it if we see something strong out here in this area soon. There is always that potential in the westward motion out here to add further strain up along the Java Trench, where we can see some rather large earthquakes, way larger than the 7-pointer. So we'll watch that area throughout the night and tomorrow Haven't really seen too much activity back building out here across Solomon Islands. Most of the movement here has been clustered following that larger scale activity this morning. One earthquake there in the Fiji region. In fact, that 4.3 was just prior to this big one over here. The general plate movement here puts a lot of strain towards the west-northwest, including areas around this plate boundary. And as the subduction zone heads off to the northeast here, so, you know, it's pretty much X marks the spot all across this area as far as the most compressed region when it comes to plate dynamics out here. New Zealand, not a whole lot showing up, at least on the map. I will quickly give them a real quick check and see what we got as far as earthquake activity goes. Looks like 3 hours ago, I was going to say a 10.5. 10 hours ago, a 3.5 down here, South Island area. A little bit of shaking being reported from that earthquake. But mostly looks like some smaller quakes being kicked off here across New Zealand. Locally, real quick glance here at the earthquake drums. See if we're missing anything by chance. There's that 7-pointer. Showed up pretty nicely across quite a few seismograph stations there. Look at that. And I guarantee you that probably showed up on Yellowstone and many other stations around the world. But far as activity goes, looks like maybe there's that is that 3-pointer that kicked up down there, South Island area. Aside from that, there's not a whole lot of movement that I can see there in New Zealand for now. Japan area got a 4.8 early this morning. Let's check out. There's South America. Let's see what we got over here. 5.1 earlier this afternoon. Definitely seen some uptick here across the Caribbean plate. Over here along the subduction zone near the Dominica area, it looks like 4.4, 35 kilometers deep. This is another major area that can see some large earthquakes. And with this movement here, the latest of 5.4 just kind of reaffirms the suspicion that this area is being squeezed. The states here, not a whole lot going on as far as earthquake activity out east. Down here in Southern California, we have noticed a handful of earthquakes right off the San Andreas Fault, the southern branch here. Some showing up on the Pacific side and some on the North American side. See that cluster here? That's not what we want to see. So looks like there's some earthquake activity definitely brewing out there. This section right here, the southern branch, is capable of producing 8.1. There's a lot of strain built up here, so who knows if this is enough to trigger the big one, but we definitely got to watch when activity stirs up like that. Keep an eye on the Southern California area. Northern California did have one earthquake here underneath the Sacramento River outside of Willows, 28 kilometers deep. And up here along the Gorda Ridges, this is a divergent boundary. Section of the divergent boundary here kind of adds strain. Should add some further strain out here along the Cascadia. A couple smaller earthquakes, 2.8 and a 2.8. Now another story up here is, I was going to say Yellowstone, but Mount St. Helens here having a little bit of earthquake activity. Same with Mount Rainier up here, but this is more so directly underneath the crater area of Mount St. Helens. Let's bring up the tremor map here. That was about 145 epicenters of tremor. We're going to check out Mount St. Helens seismograph stations and see what we have. There's some of that earthquake activity showing up. Now, there's an earthquake about an hour and a half or so ago. See that one? That was not reported, I don't think. 1522 is the last earthquake at a 1.7 magnitude earlier this afternoon. That was obviously recent, so that hasn't shown up there on the seismographs or the USGS map. What looks like some other smaller earthquake activity in here as well. So I'm kind of curious about this. There's the earthquake from yesterday. The lines here are pretty much flat lines, so we're not going to be able to see exactly what's going on as far as any smaller quake activity. But it's potentially, we could be looking at maybe a little bit of uptick here As far as earthquake activity goes, look at that little small spikes. We'll continue to watch that and report back on it. At least they're reporting some of the activity up there right now. The largest, of course, was a 2.4. That was on the yesterday, late last night. A little bit of activity also outside of Mount Rainier. A couple smaller quakes, although away from the volcano. Let's give a quick glance here at Yellowstone National Park. And there is the earthquake in question, far as that 7-pointer goes. Now, originally, the USGS had a 7.1 and a 6.9, but they dropped that 6.9 and only kept the 7.1. But to me, it looks like there was maybe 2 distinct earthquakes there, at least looking on this model. I know the arrival of the P wave comes first, and then you get the S wave signatures a little bit later. But a lot of these look like there was 2 earthquakes here. You guys see that? Boom, boom. To me, that looks like 2 earthquakes. So I'm not for sure why they're only reporting 1. Even in these smaller graphs here that really don't show it all that strong, I still see 2. So, and again, USGS only reporting 1. How do we end up in South Africa? That was kind of crazy there. Yeah, we had that 7.1, and then a little bit later, a few minutes later, we had a 5.4. But that 5.4 is not going to show up thousands of miles away like a 6.9 would. So I think there was 2 earthquakes. It'd be interesting to see if they add it back on the map, maybe tomorrow or in the coming days. All right, so what do we have for the total tally? Let's go ahead and check. I want to go 6.5 and above. We're going to take a look at the map. That's since about the first of the year, right? We kind of want to see what's going on out here. Worldwide, I think we'll use worldwide. And 6.5 to today, 2023. All right, so the largest magnitude so far, of course, did have that 7.8 over here. That was a pretty big size earthquake, largest one of the year so far in Turkey. All right, guys, remember that, right? And of course, that was followed up a day later by a 7.5. In fact, on February 5th, had 2 earthquakes, 7.8, 6.7, and then a 7.5 that following day. So a lot of activity stirring up out there in Turkey this year. Tonga's seen some earthquake activity as well, including a 7.6, 7.5 here in, well, that was over in the Turkey area. 7.2 up in Alaska. Alaska did have some movement just last month. Tonga as well. Look at all that earthquake activity here. That was a lot of movement. So we can kind of look at this map here and give a good indicator of potentially where strain could be building up here, right? We got major subduction zones here across the Peru-Chile Trench. We really haven't seen that much earthquake activity out here. Yes, we get 4s and 5s, but goodness, this area is very capable of producing some large quakes. In fact, the largest one ever, the 9.5 Chilean earthquake. That's the largest ever, at least in human recorded history. And look, it's absent of earthquake activity as far as anything above 6.5, and that's a little rare. 6.6 Argentina, that's some deeper movement quakes. Here's a really deep earthquake, 6.8 says null, but that was back in January. Most of the activity we've witnessed out here has been, moderate in size, and most of it has been relatively deep, indicating potential here for the next mega quake up against the Peru-Chile Trench. California has been, for a major plate boundary. This is 6.5 and above, right? Yep. Nothing above that level. Even the Middle America Trench down here, we did have a 6.5 stir up out there last month, of course, with a swarm down here into the Gulf of Fonseca area. You guys remember that? Pretty good swarm. That kind of just died off there. But this area, very capable of producing some large quakes. And, we may see these fill in. Most of the activity has just been up around here across our major zones, but again, the Kurokamachaka Trench, Japan Trench, Izu Trench, and the Mariana Trench are all major subduction zones as well. And they haven't really seen too much activity in terms of larger scale movement. So these quiet zones may fill in by the time 2023 comes to an end here. I know we got September coming up here in a couple days. We're definitely halfway past that halfway point as far as the year goes. All right, folks, let's see what we got for space weather real quick. Pretty much flatlined out here. We are noticing a slight little uptick of some bubbling. Well, this is C-flare activity, a little popcorn being produced out here on the C-flare chart, and that is coming from an active region out here on the eastern limb. We do have a little bit better perspective of that sunspot. Notice this bright feature out here. There's many sunspots that are facing us, but they are relatively stable. It's these sunspots here that we're watching that may be capable of producing some larger flares. In fact, this area, which is now named, we can welcome 3417 here to the visible disk, the Earth side. And this is the one that produced that long duration M flare with a subsequent CME a couple days ago. It does look fairly complex. It does have a train of different cores behind it, so we'll watch that in the coming days for, well, maybe some Earth-directed flare activity. Current sunspots here, relatively stable, the ones that are facing us. I don't think we're going to see anything major from these two sunspots, but definitely keep an eye on our new sunspot. Welcome to the party, 3417. As far as any major auroras go, not looking likely, folks. Things are very calm. There has not been any Earth-directed CMEs. And, of course, there's that CME that was directed a ways away from Earth, from 3417, right? Isn't that right? 3417. All right, guys. I am going to call it here. Just looking at the live seismographs right now. New Zealand, a little spike right here. I was watching Mount St. Helens here a little bit ago, and that's going to be this station right here. About an hour or so ago, I noticed a little couple spikes, and we'll see it. Be interesting to see if they include all those little other spikes on a earthquake catalog map here, because definitely some type of earthquake activity occurring directly underneath the volcano at Mount St. Helens. As far as Southern California goes, it looks like a little, I'm not for sure what that is. I don't know if we're getting maybe an S wave, but that kind of looks a little odd. Sometimes they do these little weird patterns. It could be adjustment, it could be who knows what, but most of the time earthquake activity, if it's a big one, will completely flatline this thick graph. And of course, if it's a super big one, we'll see all of these light up with that signature. It's been a little while. Haven't seen any we really haven't seen any mega quakes, as far as the big ones go. All right, folks, double check the National Hurricane Center here, see if they've updated it yet. As far as the Idalia goes, let's see here. This was put out, still put out at 10. It's coming up at 11 o'clock here my time, 11, 12, 1. I think the next update here will be in about 3 minutes or so, or shortly thereafter. And of course, that's updating on the live stream, the Tropical Storm Idalia live stream that I have also running up here. So just be prepared, folks. Make sure you get everything in line. I want to look at something here real quick. Some folks asking about the weather along the West Coast. Well, we have a major deep trough here, low pressure system that's going to be coming over California and the West Coast here. I think Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I'm going to add, look at that. It develops right here over Oregon and in Northern California. This is going to bring with it some much cooler weather, and we're talking about high temperatures, at least where I live. We're going down from about 95 or 100 down to the mid-70s for afternoon highs, so that's going to be very welcome. It's just very rare to see this type of setup come up out of the blue. I think it may be a very interesting year, a very interesting winter with regards to El Nino. It looks like that may stick around a little bit. A good portion. That's way out into the middle of September. That's a massive high pressure system out here. I'm not liking that, but either way, we've got a couple days of cooler weather coming up, and the potential for some fires because we're going to be looking at some dry north winds out here. Elevated fire activity. Let's see here. Where is my... I got so many bookmarks up here. It's not even funny. El Nino map. This is the latest, July 2023. Still looking pretty strong. There is a 90 to 95% chance that it will last through the winter. And it looks like right now the chances of it being a strong El Nino have gone up to about 60% chance. So that is a little bit higher. I think it was only 30 to 40 last month or so. Now they're stating that it has a stronger chance of becoming a stronger El Nino. And that does affect weather out here in California. Look at the Pacific out here, relatively warm. And this could be, rather interesting setup for storms and for the general rainfall out here in California come this wintertime. I'm looking forward to it. I do like to document and record these El Nino events and La Nina events and compare them to previous years. All right, folks, real quick glance here at the hurricane thing here. I was just kind of passing time just for a little bit to see if this would update. It is 11 o'clock out here, California time, and it hasn't updated yet, but sometimes they update it right at the hour. Sometimes it's a few minutes past. So anyway, I'm going to call it a night, folks. Hope everyone enjoys their Monday night. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It's going to be a big deal watching this hurricane tomorrow, see how fast it rapidly intensifies, and we'll get a good indicator of how strong this will be upon landfall here along the coast of Florida. Be safe out there. Make sure you guys are getting prepared. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.